I just wanted to welcome everyone. Thank you for coming. This is going to be a happy day, as Francie would have wanted it. She didn't know many bad days, and when she did, she didn't let anybody else know it. But and I was concerned it would be a sad day, but now we have some other great news. Along with celebrating Francie, we're celebrating Andy and his ex-girlfriend and their engagement. Andy and Lauren are soon to be wed, fresh back from their trip in Greece where he proposed to her. So we're all delighted about that. We're more than anything delighted that you're all here and will remember Francie with your stories. I have so many stories that would take up more room than anybody could have and deserves, but she was just a great lady, and I think you all could attest to that, which is why you're all here today. And again, thank you for being here. Thank you for doing the video, and enjoy your afternoon. Thank you.
Hi all, I'm John. I am my mom and dad's second son, and I want to thank everybody for either participating today in the memory of my mom or submitting your memories to us for our future, and wanted to thank everybody for showing up today, and leave it to my dad to pick the most beautiful day of the year to have this event on the 26th of September 2021. You know, when we were asked to tell a story about my mom, you know, I could go on and on, but to leave some room, I thought I'd share a memory of mine where although there were four of us, my mom certainly wanted to make us feel like individuals. We weren't the Nale boys, we were Tim, John, Andy, and Mike. And one of the things that she made sure happened was one-on-one lunches, where not only for our birthday we would hook up with just my mom and dad and us, but randomly throughout the year, and just be able to talk and tell each other about what's going on in our lives. And that really meant a lot. Something I've carried on with my own family, and that even lasted into after I had my own family and started my working career. I would often call my mom and see if she was available for lunch. She'd always say yes. I'd always have to make sure my afternoon was clear, because as you know, a lunch wasn't a lunch hour with my mom, and I'd find out after the fact she'd rearrange her schedule with what she had going on to have lunch and get together and catch up. So we'll always cherish those days, and miss you very much, Mom. I love you.
My family memories of my baby sister Fran, who was 8 years younger than I, and I'm Joyce. She was the last of 6 living children of our parents, and rightly named Frances Catherine Riley. Good Irish name. Dad's spelling was Francis, masculine, C-I-S, and Fran, feminine, gender, C-E-S. Might I, as well, get her nickname correctly? For reasons unknown to me, she was called Francie, Franny, and Baby Fran during the years to follow. We, the Riley 8 in number, lived in a 4-bedroom, large, box-shaped house on Bologna Avenue in Baltimore, Maryland. Oh, sorry, I should say Balmer, Maryland. Was Baby Fran spoiled at 7 or 8 years old? What I can remember, she certainly was. However, she loved me, Joyce, and did really nice things for me. She would polish my saddle shoes every night as a surprise. I was class president of Notre Dame High School, and pressed uniforms and polished shoes were mandatory, as Fran found out also 8 years later when she attended the school. She was always kind to everybody and spoke in very, very, very quiet, innocent, low voice with her beautiful brown eyes, expressive brown eyes. Guess what? The 7 of us, we all had blue eyes. Time passed and all the siblings were out of the house, and Fran was attending college, Marymount College in Virginia. Again, her gracious heart told her to move back home where our dad had had a stroke. His memory, speech, and body movement were affected. For a long time, she helped Mom care for Dad while she attended the local Notre Dame college. She always seemed to make a difficult situation into not so bothersome one. When she bellowed what few words Dad could say, we nearly wet our pants. Are you ready? This is what she would do. "Oh, shit! Shit!" Dad would shout from the upstairs bedroom. Then it was followed by, "Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee." And Dad is bellowing this, and that's all he could say. Fran, she just loved the Lord, and she went on with helping Dad and Mom. But time was not so bad, because now she met Jack, and the love story went on for 52 years. I married Bill Clautisse, USNA Naval Academy in '59, and Navy moved us from Baltimore. However, the Nale and Clautisse family visits were extremely special and memorable. I'll never forget my shock seeing Fran's artistic talent of artwork with gallons of paint and brush in hand, displayed creative figures and flowers and so forth on either side of the stairway going up to the second floor on their Wakefield Circle house. Another creative winning talent of hers was hanging a 5-light bulb chandelier upside down on the ceiling in their bedroom at in Marietta. The ceiling glowed with magnificent romantic. Also recalling her hundreds of boxes of decorations for holidays, baby, weddings, showers, birthdays, and other celebrations. Always were filled with such thoughtfulness and hours of work, and she loved doing it. Of course, they stayed up for a month or two. Hundreds of boxes. Another example of Fran's kindness to the family, our daughter Suzanne graduated from the Naval Academy in '87 and was on her reserve weekend in the early 20s, right here in Marietta at the Reserve Center. Fran understood Suzanne's busy schedule, but you all know Fran. She baked cookies, drove down to the base, and through the slotted fence, she handed over her treat to Sue, who could not leave the base, nor could Fran enter into the base. That's baby Fran. Our family of 3 experienced several overnights gathering with Fran and Jack, one being at Thanksgiving. You have to remember the Raleigh family. We would tear up quite a bit, which I might even do closing with this. It was a Norman Rockwell Thanksgiving photo, and everybody had signed their personal note for Jack and Fran. Well, another part of Fran, I had given her a cutting board which had the Phenomenal Woman poem on it, and I'd actually like to read it for you. But I'd like you to close your eyes and just think of baby Fran and the person that she really is. Phenomenal woman. Pretty women wonder where my secrets lie. I'm not cute or built to suit a fashion model size. But when I start to tell them, they think I'm telling lies. I say it's in the reach of my arms, the span of my hips, the stride of my step, the curl of my lips. I'm a woman, phenomenally. Phenomenal woman, that's my baby Fran. I walk into a room just as cool as you please, and to a man, the fellows stand or fall down on their knees. Then they swarm around me, a hive of honeybees. They say, it's the fire in your eyes and the flash of my teeth, the swing in my waist and the joy in my feet. I'm a woman phenomenally. Phenomenal woman, that's baby Fran. Men themselves have wondered what they see in me. They try so much, but they can't touch the inner mystery. When I try to show them, they say they still can't see. I say, it's in the arch of my back, the sun of my smile, the ride of my breast, the grace of my style. I'm a woman phenomenally. Phenomenal woman, that's my baby Fran. Now you understand just why my head's not bowed. I don't shout or jump about or have to talk real loud. When you see me passing, it ought to make you proud. I say, it's in the click of my heels, the bend of my hair, the palm of my hand, the need for my care. 'Cause I'm a woman phenomenally. Phenomenal woman, that's Fran. And lastly, before I start to cry, she had that special way of relating her stories, always making you feel special if you had 50 to 60 minutes to listen. One of her stories in introducing me to the Damn It doll a blessed friend had given her. In her last year, she used that doll out of frustration on occasions, for there just wasn't an answer to her physical struggles. However, Fran is Fran. Known for her love of God, love of life, love of Jack, love of family and friends. Her philosophy might have been to make things right for you, for others, and occasionally for herself. Yep, that's my dear baby sister Fran.
Hi, I'm Chris, sister-in-law to Fran and sister to Jack. And I just want to give some of my sweet, deepest thoughts about Fran. She was the most thoughtful person I've ever known. She was always making meals for people, delivering cookies, mailing packages, doing everything so sweetly to help everyone in need, that whether they were sick or just down and out. And then I want to also tell you about my brother Jack, who was really the wind beneath her wings. It was his love of her that really allowed her to be who she was, because he was the one that helped in the delivery even when her back was so difficult in her walking. And he was the one that went to the post office and mailed all the packages, and he was just there for her all the time. And so their marriage and their love for each other allowed them each to be such amazing people. And my very special story of you, Fran, was when we both went through something that was really awful that ended up being amazing. We both were injured in surgery the same month, and we had to convalesce at home, our different homes, and I'm from Florida, Francie was here in Georgia, and we couldn't go anywhere. It was right before Christmas, and it was so wonderful because I think we talked every day, and it was always so difficult to get a hold of Fran because she was always out and about helping someone or spreading her kindness and joy. And also the birthday lunches, lots of birthday parties. So it was often difficult to connect. We missed each other's calls, but not that year. That year we got to talk and share so many things from the heart, and neither of us had to prepare for Christmas because we weren't capable. And she laughed about how she never thought it would be the best Christmas ever because we didn't have to wrap a gift or decorate because we were just home convalescing. And the best gift that Christmas was the time I had to share with her. And after that time, it seemed to draw us closer, and we were more diligent at making time for each other. She was 1 in a million and touched my heart in so many ways. Love and miss you.
Hi, Jack and family. We're Ann and Richard Walker, old neighbors. We're
Really old.
really old neighbors.
We've been here since 1980.
And I understand you guys came in '84. So We've known Jack and Francie and the boys for a long time. Special day, and we think about her very often and just wanted to say hi.
My favorite Francie story is the story of when she met Jack. She evidently was at a bar in Baltimore, I believe, with another young fella, and Jack saw her and evidently wanted to get her phone number. So he waited around trying to get her attention, and he just couldn't. So he thought, I know she's going to have to go to the restroom, so I'm going to go hang out at the ladies' restroom, and maybe I can get her there. So he finally gets his opportunity when she goes to the restroom, and he says, can I get your phone number? And she decided, well, I'm not so sure about this. So she said, well, my number is blah, 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 and read it off very quickly. And she said, so if you've got that, you got my phone number. And he was smart enough to remember it, hear it, and called her. And I guess that's the end of the story. My story I want to share. First of all, I just want to say how I just love being Francie's friend, and I will cherish our friendship till the day I die. So anyway, my main story is how we got into Red Hat and how she got into Red Hat. We met in 2003, and from there we were out to lunch one day and happened to be looking in a window, and it was all Red Hat stuff. And I said to her, this is your thing. This is what we need to do. And she turned around, looked at me, and she said, if you'll do it, I'll do it. And that led to us being in 3 different chapters of Red Hats. And then we had a birthday group. We had several different groups. And I just really just loved being with her. And she was so much fun. And I will always cherish all my memories of her of the last, I guess it was about 17 years we were good friends. So.
Hi, Jack and all. It's really a pleasure to be here. Unfortunate circumstances, but yet, you know, we're just here to celebrate Francie, celebrate all that she meant to all of us. Whenever I think about Francie, all I can think about is how welcoming she was and how open and how she made you feel so special and just like you were the most special person in the world. And it was everybody she met. If we were someplace and the wait staff she made feel good. Anybody that she came in contact, she just welcomed them and made them feel good. And I guess I'll never ever forget Francie for that, being that person and showing me or sort of teaching me how to do the same thing or try to. Probably never measure up, but anyhow, we all miss her very much, and we thank you for having an opportunity to remember her.
Jack, we want you and Mike and Andy and John to know how honored we are to be included in this celebration of Francie's life. We are delighted to be here among friends, and we are terribly sorry for your loss, but we are very, very honored to be here.
Hey Francie, we wish you were here. You would love to see everyone that has shown up and everything, all the beautiful stuff around here. We miss you so much. Hope we'll see you one day soon.
When we first moved in the neighborhood, we jumped right in, and the subdivision was doing a progressive dinner party, and we said we would host. And we were given partners, and it was Francie and Jack Nale. So they came over and helped us decorate, and they volunteered their son Mike, who was still in high school, to welcome everyone because we were in the American house, and had him dress up as Uncle Sam. And we had so much fun at our house that so many of us missed the next house because everyone was partying so much because we had the great companions of Francie and Jack Nale. It was a great introduction to the neighborhood, which continues lifelong friends. We love and miss you, and Francie, you live in our hearts forever.
One of the things I remember from Francie is how much she loved her Red Hat Society. And she was a member of several Red Hat Societies. One that I know more about is the Red Hat Society that my wife started. And Francie was always there at all the meetings. The history on her on Linda's Red Hat Society was that she had wanted to join one. So I encouraged her to go out and find one to join. And she did that for 2, 3, 4 weeks and never found one that she felt that she was comfortable at. So she came back and she says, well, I didn't find one. I said, well, why don't you start one? She says, well, I don't know how to do that. And I said, well, I'll help you. So her Red Hat Society is probably the only one that a man started because she couldn't do it. I went on the internet and did all the stuff. Once it was started, she was the organizer, she was the head of it. And Francie was there virtually every time she had a meeting. So that's one of the big things I remember about Francie.
Okay, Francie was the sweetest person I know. After my husband passed away, Francie always remembered the day that he died and always sent me a thinking of you card. I don't know how she did it because she had so many friends. She must be part of a Hallmark store or owns some Hallmark stock. She's a lovely person and we miss her very much.
Here's to you, Francie. We miss you and love you so much. Mary Ellen and I miss specifically all the many years of Cinco de Mayo, Fat Tuesdays, St. Patty's Day. That was a tradition with the four of us, and we miss them terribly. I miss you. I'm trying to think of a funny story about you, Francie, but the only thing I can think of is my hearing is bad, as you know. I got a hearing problem, and your voice was so low. I remember when you would come up to me and you'd say, "Hi, Ron, how are you?" And I couldn't hear a single word you were saying, but I didn't want to be impolite and interrupt you. But anyway, that's it. Again, we miss you a lot. Love you.
There's so many things that I remember about Francie Nale. But to pick one, I remember a time when we were at the beach. Of course, we were all beach lovers. And I had a group of friends down at my beach house in Florida. Among them was Francie. And it was one night that the two of us, Francie and I, were up late because we're kind of night owls. Everybody else had gone to bed. But we went out on our porch and we were looking down at the water and up at this absolutely gorgeous sky with all kinds of stars. It was just one of those wonderful nights, especially you get them at the beach where there's just a mass of stars, like you could reach out and just grab one. Anyway, it was freezing. It was either March or April. We were celebrating one of our birthdays. And we went out there wrapped up in quilts, absolutely freezing. So we were wrapped up, sitting on our deck, and we just talked for hours, really, settled the problems of the world. But it was just a beautiful, beautiful evening, and rare that it would be so gorgeous. So that's a memory I'll have forever.
Okay. I would like to, there's so many memories that I could go through with Francie, but one thing that I remember about Francie is that she would say things that you'd go, what did she say? And I never figured out whether it was because she was trying to shock you or surprise you, or it was just Francie. I don't know. But I can remember one night, Jack and Francie and Carol and I were at a bar. Go figure. And I think it was the old dog, blind old dog, and we were there, and Francie had a glass of beer, and it was in a Stella glass, a fairly fancy Stella glass. And she said to the waiter, as he came up, she said, "What would you do if I stole this glass and you didn't know about it?" And it was one of those statements you kind of go, wow, that just doesn't make sense. Anyway, we laughed about it. It was a good time. And I want to propose a toast to Francie. We're all going to go sometime. And we look back and what is life about? It's about family. It's about a good marriage. It's about lots of friends. It's about faith. It's about a whole lot of things. And I'd just like to say to Francie, and I'm pretty sure she can hear me,
She came in.
Job
more
well
than I
done.
did.
Here's to you, Francie.
Okay, I'm going to read this. So, cheers to a life well lived, dear sweet friend Francie, one of a kind, with a kind, generous, loving heart, never wanting to say no or hurt someone's feelings. You always have stories to tell, celebrating life every day, making magic happen every day. Today we celebrate you, dear friend Francie.
I've not known Francie as long as a lot of the people here know her, but my time with her was very precious because she's such a sweet woman and loving and funny. The most thing I remember about her is she's funny. She told more stories at our birthday group. That's how I got to know her, through the Sandians birthday group. And I told her I've never known anybody who had as many wonderful stories as she had and attended so many weddings as she did. So everything I remember about Francie is just wonderful memories of a very sweet and loving woman who cared mostly about people and her family. And sorry that she's not with us anymore, but I know she's in God's hands right now.
Okay, we're here today to celebrate a lot of wonderful, beautiful things about Francie. You know that her birthday was very important to her, and we were the smallest group that met with her. There were 4 of us, including Francie, year after year after year. She did pull some tricks on us, so we'll hear about that from Jen.
So, even before the 4 of us started getting together for lunch, this is when I lived in Hampton Lake 100 years ago. Before my divorce, before I moved away, we always came together and had a huge luncheon for Francie on April 1st. And one year, it was at my house. We actually went to thrift stores and got hats and gloves. There were like 35 to 50 women who brought salads and foods to my house. So I was a bit nervous about having all these women at my house for Francie's birthday. And so I had done everything I could to make everything as perfect as possible. And as everybody was arriving, I looked down, and in the corner was a pile of dog poop. And over in that corner was another pile of, yes, you guessed it, dog poop. And over there, another pile of poop. And so I went to my paper towel dispenser. I tried to discreetly get a piece of paper towel and sort of sidle my way over to the corner and start picking up the poop. And the first pile I picked up, I realized, was plastic. And across the room, I saw Francie Nale dying laughing because she had brought those piles of poop for my pleasure. And so, anyway, it was April Fool's, and she loved to trick us, and that was certainly a good trick. So that's my story.
Okay, you're sticking to it.
I'm sticking to it.
Yes, Sherry Sachs. I lived in Hampton Lake. I moved here in 1984, moved away in 1997, and Fast and Furious became friends with Francie and many others, but Francie and this group, my closest. And we just had so many wonderful times celebrating together, including our special little birthday times each year, because Francie was known to have birthday would go on for 6 months, and she would have birthday after birthday after birthday, and all our groups were mostly big. But I will say this, something that I have to say about our sweet Francie. I shared a birthday with her son Tim, who they tragically lost. And this is, I'm saying this because this is the kind of person Francie was. And even in the midst of her grieving her son, which she always did, and especially the beginning was so rough, but on my birthday celebration, which was the same birthday as Tim, even though we didn't go on that day, she never, ever, ever once wanted to take away from my date, which was the same date as Tim's, by bringing that up and making me feel, unhappy. Or she was all about, we're celebrating you, and that was just so special to me. and one of her gifts of love, one of her many gifts of love. So, whoever enjoys this little video, just know we all treasure her so much and miss her so much.
Okay, my Francie story is back in 1993. We were on the same Alta tennis team. That particular season, we took 1 point the whole season out of 35. And I did it with Helene Joseph. Francie took this picture, and she also bought us each a trophy that says Wonderful, the number 1, O-N-E, Wonderful, Hampton Lake, 1993. And that was so sweet.
Okay, my name's Mario Dittmer. I live in the neighborhood. I'm married to my lovely bride, Kathy Hudson. And really, I was telling Jack I've only met Francie twice. Once was a party right here on this porch, probably 15 years ago, 16 years ago. And also one time when she's driving down the street and Kathy stopped and talked to her. But both times just an ebullient woman, reminded me a lot of the persona on her Hawaii picture. Just very joyful, fun, and felt very good, comfortable around her. So just in the couple times, I'm grateful.
Oh, Francie, this was the funniest weekend when we all went to Mardi Gras. We all had so much fun. I know you recall this, and Jack and all the family, you probably told them the story, but you'll remember that when you were coming home from one of the balls, or the ball, because we went to 2 balls, if you remember, and you found a shoe, and it was a high heel shoe, and somebody had obviously lost it after the ball, and you carried that shoe around the entire weekend looking for Cinderella. You just knew that you were going to find the person that shoe would fit. So I remember you telling me that you and Jack thought that was one of the best weekends y'all ever had and that you loved it. Of course, let me just say how much we loved it, how endearing you were also to my family and my parents, and how much they loved getting to know you and Jack. And my mother would always call you my friend that had the most beautiful handwriting, because you were so sweet to always write that note to my mother and father afterwards. That we had been together for the weekend. So I gotta tell you something. I think of that story all the time, and it just makes me smile. So I had to share it with everyone to let them know how much fun that you had with us at Mardi Gras and how much fun we had with you. We miss you.
My story about Francie is concerning her birthday. And other people may have also told a similar story. But Francie loved her birthday. And it not only was a day, it would spread out into weeks and months of luncheons and presents. And not only was she excited about her birthday, but she loved everybody else's birthday. And if you couldn't give her a date when she could go to lunch with you for a birthday celebration, she would hound you. She would hound me, sometimes for months before I'd give her a date to go out for my birthday. She cherished her birthdays just like she cherished her friends. And that's my best memory of her.
Hi there. We're the Hermans, Alan and Beverly, and I have so many great memories of Francie, I don't know where to start, but I just want to say that she was the sweetest and the kindest person that anybody could ever imagine, and we miss her terribly. We first met Francie when she and Jack and the family moved into our neighborhood, and their son Mike was the same age as our son Mike, and so they went to school together and got to be very good friends. They played on the soccer teams as they were growing up for a while, and we were always in the same social circle with Francie and Jack and their family. One of the things that I remember the most is I came over one day to pick up my son Mike, who was playing basketball with their son Mike, and Francie was making dinner, and she asked me if I would like to have some mushrooms. And I said to Francie, I've never had mushrooms before, and I was 35 or more years old at the time, and she said, try them. Well, I tried her mushrooms, and after that, I enjoyed them so much that I started eating mushrooms, and I continue to eat them today. And I attribute that to Francie. Francie and Jack and Mike, they've been to weddings for both of our sons. We've been to dances and parties together, and we miss Francie terribly. And we certainly appreciate this opportunity to share a few of our memories.
Hi, I'm Ronna Cantrell, and I have many memories of Francie. But one that's very dear to me is I had pneumonia a few years ago, and she found out, and she brought me the biggest bowl of homemade chicken noodle soup. And I love chicken noodle soup. That's my favorite. And I loved that soup. And I have thought about it so many times, and I always think about Francie when I think about chicken noodle soup. She was a great cook, and we've had her lasagna several times and thoroughly enjoyed it as well. Francie was just a great person and will truly be missed.
Well, this is tough to talk about my amazing mom and not having her here right now with us. But there's just so much to talk about, and you know, I always kind of viewed her as one of my best friends. That was one thing that she and I had such a tight bond, and you know, would also often have, you know, lunches together, and you know, I could kind of talk to her about anything, and it's not real common to have that tight of a bond with your mom where you could kind of talk about anything like that. But she was a special person, as everyone knows, and you know, miss her dearly. I know I'm going to see her again one day. I can feel her presence, and you know she's looking down on us, and you know, I'm strong knowing that she's going to see me one day, and you know, I can continue to kind of ask for her guidance on things, and I can kind of feel her presence, so it kind of puts me at peace. One funny story that, you know, comes to mind, that I'm not sure if my brothers have said this yet, but you know, with her birthday being on April Fool's Day, the jokes she would play on her birthday were just amazing. And we would, of course, get her back, but the jokes were taking our towels away from the bathroom as we were in the shower, you know, and finishing the shower to find out there were no towels. Also, you know, I guess she would get soap that would like turn black after it started getting wet, and she put those kinds of like prank soaps in the shower on April Fool's Day, her birthday, and then we would get her back, and we had a good time going back and forth on things. But that was one thing that I'll always remember. A funny thing about my mom is just, you know, taking advantage of being born on April Fool's Day. But I love her so much, and I know I'm going to see her again, and you know, I can't wait to you know, hug her when I see her again in the future. And love my mom so much. So that's it.
Hi, my name is Pam Wilson, and I've known Francie for many years. She was quite a character, busy, and we were in the same circle of friends, and it started through my church, but she joined the group, and each month we would have a meeting and give each other a gift. Well, my gift from Francie once was this ring, and it says faith on it, and I don't ever take it off. I took it off just now, unless I'm in the hospital or something, they make you take it off. But I have kept this ring that says faith that reminds me of her every day, because I never, like I said, I never take the ring off. But she was so special. She was so full of wonderful stories, you know, butterflies that followed her from window to window, and we just really miss her.
Good evening, everybody. Mike Nale here, Francie's youngest son. I know all of you guys, and it was wonderful to see everybody today. Thank you so much for coming out for this memorable occasion, celebrating Francie Riley Nale's wonderful life that she lived. I just wanted to not only go last, but just been thinking about her all day, as we all have for 2 years now. First want to say this pin that I'm wearing, I gave this to my mom 2 years ago today, which was 2 days before she passed, and I'll never forget her face and just her smiles and her tears that she wept on that particular Thursday, 2 days before she passed, back on the September 26th of 2019 is when I gave this pin to her, and I've worn it ever since. It's in my memory of my mom that she's always with me. There's just too many stories to tell, but just to summarize, you know, like you guys all know, my mom, since we moved here to East Cobb, the same exact house back in 1984 of August, she has just been she was such a delightful woman from, you know, my childhood days in North Carolina and Charlotte, all the way through living here in Marietta. I was her youngest of 4, obviously Tim, John, and Andy before me, and it was just awesome to see not only how strength of a marriage is with my mom and dad, how wonderful of parents they are, and you know the steps that they give Tim, John, Andy, and I to lead a life in marriage. You couldn't have asked for anything better than what my mom and dad portrayed, and that I just want to reiterate how wonderful she was as a person, and just a lovely woman, a terrific mom that had, you know, just made me laugh more than anybody. She was just so heartwarming, so devoted, always positive, would always turn anything negative into a positive situation. Just, you know, from my soccer days of growing up, I'll always remember her, you know, her simple chant that I could, you know, pick out of the crowd. Way to nail it, Mike. Way to nail it, Mikey, growing up. Obviously, I kicked the ball pretty hard, and that was just solid for years. She always would be there for all the soccer games, travel, as would my dad. But my mom was she was too much. She just would always be there for all my 3 older brothers and myself. Never would have a problem with anything. Always was just sweet, and just showed her warmth around her. That's why she had so many friends. Of all of you guys that came out today and celebrated her life, I miss her deeply. I think of her all the time, and I just love her so much, and we miss her badly. And I really can't tell a funny story at the moment, but I just want to say thanks again for coming out. We really loved her as much as we love all of you. She was so devoted to all her friends, her birthdays that she would have for 2-3 months before April 1st and after. Her birthday was awesome. April Fool's Day, how can you not play a joke on your mom when she's not expecting it? And I did that on occasions all the time. And she just was always there, as is my dad, and I just couldn't have asked for a better mom than Francie was for my 40 plus years that I had her as my mom. Loving woman, always in my heart, and I'll always keep her right next to me with this angel. So thank you guys all for coming again today, and we love you all very much. God bless you, Mom.
Hi, I'm Pat Smith, and I was a very good friend of Francie's, and we were in Circle 5 together at Sandy Springs United Methodist Church. And Francie was a very good friend that I have enjoyed all through the years, and Francie was a very caring person and a very giving person, and I enjoyed lots of wonderful birthday luncheons with her. And this is a piece of art that she did for me when my brother passed away, and she drew all the names of all the circle people.
I'll come over in a second.
On this, photograph, and it's all of these saying your oval 5. It was circle 5. So I've kept this through. This is 15 years old, but I've kept it through the years because it means so much to me, because it was such a sincere, loving, giving piece of art that she gave me. And some of the other things that I've got kept is we had wonderful birthday luncheons, and she gave me this photograph book of all the birthdays that we've shared through the years. And we had these wonderful birthday luncheons where we would go to lunch, and they would last 3 and 4 hours. And the one that has been the most wonderful memory is, here's one that she did when we were, and she made this book for me of all the birthday luncheons, but this one was, she picked me up at my house that morning at 10:30. We went to the governor's mansion, and it was all festive. My birthday was December the 9th, and they were singing outside. When I got out, all the different characters that were there. Here's one that was dressed up. They were all dressed in colonial attire, and they were singing happy birthday to me, and Francie had arranged this. Then we went to lunch and another time, but after we left there, we went to Super Jenny's for soup, and then that night we went to that afternoon at 2:30, we went to the Ritz-Carlton for tea, and we left there at 5:30 that afternoon. So those are the kind of birthdays that Francie planned. They just went on and on and on, and they lasted till she'd bring you home at 6 o'clock at night, and you would never forget that birthday because it was planned so beautifully. And here's one of the red hats that we were in, the red hats, and oh, did she ever love that Red Hat Society. We went there many, many times and enjoyed it with all of the girls. And one of the most wonderful things was during all the time that Francie was sick, I would come over and visit with her. And one day we came over, Donna, Glenn, and I, and we brought margaritas, and we all came out on the porch and had margaritas. And this was just maybe a month before she passed away. And we celebrated our friendship, our love of Francie. And Andy was here, and so was Jack, and we just had a very special day. But Francie will always be in my heart, she'll always be in my memory, and she's always with me, and I will always try to be more loving and more caring and more giving to everybody as she has been to me.
Hi, I'm Rich Farquhar.
And I'm Shelley Farquhar.
We've been neighbors in Hampton Lake for 31 years, and I think the one really cool memory I have of Francie, but it also includes Jack, is back around 2002, we had this neighborhood band called the One Night Band. And it was all neighbors, and we had a lot of fun. Shelley was the lead singer, I played drums. And the Nales invited us over for dinner. And we actually ate dinner right in there, and the whole band and just the Nales. And I think that just kind of encompasses for us, Francie and Jack, just being welcoming people, very loving people, good friends. And for that night, we had a ball. We just had so much fun, and it was kind of our first time meeting the Nales, I think. But I've always remembered that as a really fun time, and just the Nales being gracious and friendly,
gracious.
Opening, welcoming, and that's how I remember Francie.
And I remember Francie, we had a lot of women's club stuff that we did, always with a glass of something. Wine for sure, maybe margaritas, and always just, you know, so interesting to talk to, bubbly, full of life, and she would always share, you know, her personal memories, and she was very open about her joy in some of her pain in her life, which I really appreciated. She was a champion for me when I was trying to have kids. I remember that. And then also we have soccer kids. So I remember it was a really big deal when we found out that they sponsored the soccer scholarship in memory of their son. So, and that was an opportunity to meet the whole family in a completely different setting. But we love Jack, we miss Francie, and we cherish the memories we have of her.
And Jack will be out to dinner again soon, you, me, and Bruce, so get ready. We'll continue that that new thing we started.
So my story, our neighbors, Gary and Fran Sherman, invited Kathy and I and Jack and Francie to the Eagles concert. We said, sure, we'll go. So 6 of us go, and we have a minivan, and I drove. Gary and Fran walked across the street to our house, and we came over here, picked up Jack and Francie. Of course, they pre-gamed before the concert. We get to the concert at Verizon Amphitheater, and Francie's like, oh, this is wonderful. My director from my bank is there, and he's got these fancy pants on, and Francie goes, I love your pants, and I'd love to see whatever, and we stopped at that. But, so long story short is we're dancing and singing and having a great time, drinking the entire time, as Jack and Francie maybe have done a few times. And at the end of the concert, Francie's like, I lost my diamond ring. I can't find it. I lost my diamond ring. So we're crawling all over the ground, all over the floor, for 2 hours after the concert. They turn the lights on, everybody's gone, not a soul there. We have the security people and the cleanup people looking for a diamond ring at the Verizon Amphitheater. Can't find it. Get back in the minivan, drive home. Gary and Fran say, oh, by the way, you owe me $450 for tickets, which was a little shock. But we pull up in Jack and Francie's driveway, open the door of the minivan, and lo and behold, a shiny object is on the driveway, a diamond ring. It was here in this house the entire time. So for 2.5 hours, after drinking and dancing and partying, looking for the diamond ring, she found it right here. Love you, Francie.
Francie was the most wonderful grandmother of any grandmother I have ever known. She took her granddaughters to a restaurant in Marietta on the square, and they put a penny on the railroad tracks. And Francie calls me after they finished their lunch with a dessert, and she said, the train just went by and we're going out and get the penny that the train had flattened. And they were so excited. And then another time I went to her house, and she had set up tables with all these sprinkles and all of these candies, chocolates, all icings, and they had made cupcakes, and they had icing on the ceiling, on the table, on the bar, everywhere. And those girls were so happy, but the person that was the happiest was Francie. She was the most wonderful grandmother I have ever known, and loved those girls, and she would bring them to our house on Halloween to trick or treat, and they were dressed up, and I would be dressed in my witch's uniform as to greet them and give them candy. And she just never stopped thinking of things to make those girls the most wonderful 2 little granddaughters in the whole world. And she said, after my 4 boys, I've got 2 girls. So I just think that everybody should have a grandmother like Francie.
We've known Jack and Francie and their boys since the early 80s when they moved here. And our boys were all youngsters, and in order to keep them close to home, the property behind us was vacant, so the kids developed the need for a skateboard ramp. I think they call them pipes. So they got construction materials from surrounding areas and built these ramps and ways to ride their skateboards, and Francie and I, unfortunately, were complicit because we made cookies, sent them lunch, brought them treats in order to keep them close to home, and we were very much supportive of it until the police came along one day and went to the kids and said, you have to take these all apart and put them somewhere else. And of course Francie and I were nowhere to be found. So that was the beginning of a long friendship. I miss all the times Ron and I and Jack and Francie would celebrate Cinco de Mayo, what do you call it, St. Patrick's Day, Halloween. Francie and Jack were with us in the car, and Francie and I were in the back seat with witches' hats, and Ron was arrested and taken into the police station for a possible DUI. However, the wine at the restaurant at Suburban Tap wasn't to his standards, so he had no water, no wine, he drank only water. And Francie and I had to get a neighbor to drive us home because I wasn't going to take a test for a DUI, a sobriety test. But no, we miss Francie to death and love Jack and the boys. Thank you.
We're getting ready to leave, and since Francie always was the last one to leave a party at our house with a wine glass, we're taking a wine glass. Here's to you, Francie.
See you later. Hello, we're the Johnsons, Ken and Linda. We've lived across the street from the Francie and Jack ever since they were here. And I wanted to tell one story. I remember Francie's 40th birthday, and everybody brought gifts, which they weren't supposed to, but they did anyway. And she's sitting there ready to open the gifts, and she's got this glow. She's just radiating, and she's looking around and smiling that Francie smile and looking at all of her friends, and she could not have been happier. She was surrounded by her friends. The gifts meant nothing to her. She was just, the fact that her friends were there meant so much, and that was Francie, and that's the way I like to remember her. And I'd like to tell a story on Jack. So they used to have lots of parties here, of course, and Jack would always take care of the mixing of the drink. So one night we're here, and I walk in as Jack is preparing the drink. And he's fixing a punch. And he says, well, you take a shot of tequila, and he just turned the bottle up, and it ran and ran. And you take a bottle of, this, and he's just pouring liquor in it. There was hardly any punch in it. And he says, I think that will do. And I said, Jack, I'm pretty sure it will. Thank you for letting us share, Jack. We missed her a lot, and we're so glad you did this get together. It helps a lot of us too. Okay.
And I just wanted to say, we remember when Jack and Francie added this deck onto the house. And Francie loved to entertain, and this was the perfect opportunity to invite the entire neighborhood over to their house. So it was a beautiful evening. We were all out here, and about halfway through, someone said, I wonder if this deck is supposed to hold this many people. Well, fortunately, the deck held up. It's still here, and we just remember Francie as the one who brought the neighborhood together and turned us into a community. So we love Francie, and thanks for doing that for our neighborhood.
Hi, we're Dwight and Kim Jeffrey, and we have so many special memories about Francie, and one of my favorite was Francie pulled a funny on me for my birthday one time. She gave me this statue of the thinker, and he was sitting there like this, and she meant it to be put like in the bathroom, and I didn't understand why, but and then she glued a very small penis on it. And I thought, what are you trying to insinuate? So I always wanted to get her back. And so Francie had a minor motor vehicle moving violation and had to do some community service.
In Roswell.
And, pardon me?
In Roswell.
In Roswell, Georgia. And so one night I called her up, and I got the answering machine, fortunately, because I wanted to leave a message. And what I said was, hello, this is Nale. This is Sergeant Peterson over here at the Roswell Police Department. How are you doing today? This is Nale. It's come to our attention that you're a little short on your community service, and we would like to talk with you about how you would want to make it up. Just give me a call back here at the precinct at 770-598-0559. And if you're not able to drive over, we would be happy to pick you up in a squad car. I look forward to hearing from you, Mrs. Nale, at your earliest convenience. And have a nice day. Well, I gave her my personal cell phone number, and I thought that she would recognize that. Unfortunately, she didn't, and it upset her for a day or two until she figured out it was me. So of course I had to apologize, but anyway.
Yeah, I was not real happy with him either. I said, what are you going to do? What did you
That
do?
was only one of the special times we had with Francie.
Francie was truly one of my very best friends. So I might not be able to get through this. I miss her dearly. There's no one on this earth like Francie Nale. First time I met her, we were having a big party at our house. There must have been 80 people at the house, and it was loud. And I was meeting lots of people I did not know. I had just moved down to be with Dwight, and Francie and Jack, I'd never met, came into the house. It happened, I was close to the front door, and I got to meet them. And she was immediately engaging, warm, so much fun to talk to. I just really felt an immediate connection with this woman. And she seemed to feel the same with me. We talked and talked and talked, and I at the end of the night, she got ready to leave, and she was calling me Pam, and I was calling her Marcy, because it was so loud in my house, we couldn't hear. So it was a big joke, Pam and Marcy. We couldn't even hear that we were messing our names up, and that was funny. But I knew, I told Dwight at the end of the night when we talk about, all the different people that came to the house, I said, I really love Francie and Jack. And from that moment on, we were just the closest of friends. I would go to the lake and we would sit on noodles and we would spend about 5 hours in the lake talking and never stop for a second, having something to talk about. And we would come out looking like raisins. But always had a great time. And the world was a better place because of Francie, truly.
We miss Francie.
Miss her, honored to have called her my friend.
Francie and Jack, we're here in celebration of that beautiful woman we've all known for so many years, and we're going to share just a couple of short and sweet stories. I'll say, every time we met at a social engagement, Francie would run up to me and go, in her breathy voice that was so sweet, Julie, I have so much to tell you. When can we sit down and chat? And that would be Francie every time I'd see her. And what a doll she was. There was no one sweeter, an angel in disguise. Well, she wasn't even in disguise. She was an angel. And I loved her, and we miss her. And we came to a dinner party here, the last time we came to a dinner party, and that night will live in infamy forever. We will all remember the date. What
date? The time.
February what?
January 11th, 2016. That night changed my life because I was caught drinking after leaving this house, spending an evening in a cell, and wanting to come home. But I won the lottery because I did a sculpture, 2 sculptures for my attorney. He gave away the charges, or he let the charges go. And so from then on, I never had a drink since that time, and simply because of you and Jack. I love you,
Francie, and they felt so responsible, and we tried to tell Jack and Francie, no, it was his own choice to drink all that wine. All Francie was doing was being a good hostess and kept bringing more wine. as any good hostess would do.
So, and I took advantage of it, but anyway, you're always in my thoughts, my prayers. Every time I do a drawing or sculpture, I think of you.
Hey Jack and boys, this is Donna Glenn. I wanted to tell you the party today was so perfect. It just made Francie so happy, and to think that after 2 years this many people come out and still have such wonderful memories and stories to tell about her. She was one of a kind, and you boys have certainly shown the love and all that you grew up with. So congratulations, Andy and Lauren, on your new upcoming marriage. And John, I can't believe your children are so big. But Francie raised a beautiful family, and I am very proud of all of you. And I know that she's looking down today just smiling. Nothing makes a mother happier than to know she was loved. Thank you for having me.
Hi, I'm Nale Levine. My favorite story with Francie was one year she was in charge of the neighborhood Christmas party, and someone other she asked me to play Santa Claus, and I played Santa Claus, and it later dawned on her that I was Jewish, and she was embarrassed, and for years and years and years, every time I would see her, she would tell me how embarrassed she was asking a Jewish guy to be Santa Claus. I was happy with it. I enjoyed it. Not very often that a Jewish guy gets to be Santa Claus, but all the kids enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it, and I thought it was a lot of fun, even though she was greatly embarrassed.
Well, I'm Jackie Englehart, and I met Francie through Kathy Martin. She was the token Catholic in our circle at Sandy Springs Methodist Church, and I have birthdayed it with her many a time and spent all day long and loved every second of it. She's been so good to me. She's just so thoughtful. And her Jack, it's a delivery man. Cards and gifts, and just couldn't be better. But the funniest thing that I think I've ever seen Francie do, and the most outlandish thing, was the artificial boobs that she had. And we're at Paper Mill Road and in a shopping center. We've been to lunch there. There were three of us, Pat Smith and Francie and myself. Francie got us to go and turn our heads around the cars. We were in the parking lot, and when we turned around, she had those things on, shining them in the parking lot for all those people in those office buildings to see. It embarrassed us to death, but we laughed our heads off. We had fun doing it. We love Francie. She just made life cheerful and wonderful for a lot of people. I miss her.
Hey Jack, how are you? I'll tell the first story. I don't know if it's much a story as just being around Francie. You know, Francie had Francie time, her tenor and tone, and it was funny to watch when she was talking for the first time, particularly to a man, and most males are 12-year-olds on amphetamine, so they're a little hyped up. And, you know, Francie would sing-song her way through it, and you could see the man, his lips would start moving, and he'd try to start finishing her sentences. The first time she'd let it go, and the second time she'd give him a little, "What are you doing here?" And by then his toe was tapping, and it was just so, that was Francie. Love you, Francie.
I think my favorite, I don't have a favorite. There's so many stories, I'm having trouble picking one to tell, but I do have to say when I first met Francie, she saw that we had 3 little boys and she had 4 boys. So that was, we were instantly connected with that. Fast friends. One particular story that I don't think my son or I will ever forget is when our neighbor across the street from us was in the hospital, and Francie was over visiting me, and I had a little 3-year-old at the time, my youngest, and we decided that we would go over and rake their leaves because they were everywhere, and somebody had come to do it the day before and they had blown all over the place. So she and I went over to rake the leaves, and In the middle of it, my little 3-year-old went to sit on the ground in a pine straw bed and started screaming bloody murder. And I ran over to him, and he had yellow jackets just surrounding him. And Francie was just watching me, and she did not know what was going on. And I grabbed him, and I ran across the street to our house, and she's just following me. I'm like, come on, come on, come on, come on. Real. And she went with me. She drove us to the urgent care because he had been stung so many times. And she sat out on in the waiting room for me, and when we got in, I got in with my little boy, and they wanted to see where all his stings were, so they pulled his little pants down, and 2 more yellow jackets crawled out of his pants. And Mom lost it. I lost it. So the nurses went out and got Francie to be the replacement mom. They took me out to the waiting room. And she, of course, she was amazing. Just so many wonderful memories of my son.
Yeah, Francie, I'm looking at the hot tub, and Jack, I remember staying there till 3 o'clock in the morning one time, and it was raining. And we knew we had a Little League game the next day, and I thought, oh, good, it's rained out. And then the sun came out at 6 in the morning, and we had to make the Little League game. There's a lot of memories here.
Yeah.
A lot of memories.
We love you, babe.
Love you.
You know, I've known Francie now for 35 years, and the day she passed away, I sat in my kitchen and I just wrote down thoughts about her, and I tucked my notes away, and I've got them here from the day she passed, and I did it in bullet form, just the thoughts that came to my head. So what I'm going to do is read to you what I wrote, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about it. Well, first of all, she was a talker, but yet she was a good listener. And she was a telephone person, but it wasn't just a phone call, it was for hours and hours. Birthdays. She celebrated everybody's birthday. Stories, friends, a good cook. She hosted so many parties. She's a fun person. She's very compassionate. She's a shopper, a giver, very artistic. She was a great decorator, a great mother. Her goodbyes were long, so I'm going to go back now and kind of elaborate on each one. So when Francie would talk to you, she would kind of whisper in your ear and tell you all kinds of stories. It could be about the plumber who came into her home and about his life, or it could be the neighbor down the street's uncle's cousin's son, but she would kind of focus in on that person. You didn't know them, but you listened to her. Birthdays. I think that's probably the main core of Francie's birthdays, because she celebrated everybody's birthday. Everybody. And her birthday especially was not just a day long. It was for weeks and then turned into months long. Stories. She would tell a story about everyone and anybody. Didn't matter if it was the grocery store clerk or who it was, but she was there telling stories about them or to them. She was a great friend to everybody. Everybody loved her, and she was just a good soul, a good friend. I loved her. She was a great cook, and if you were invited for dinner, the talking would go on, and if you're ready to eat, it might be 10 o'clock at night. So her cooking was great. The dinners were long. Not as long as the goodbyes, though. Every time you were with her, she would say goodbye, but it would take like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, a half an hour, and you'd be walking towards the door and she'd be following, whispering in your ear. Great long goodbyes. She was definitely a fun person, liked parties, and we always had fun, laughs, good times. She was also very compassionate. She had a heart of gold, and a good heart, a good soul. Very compassionate. A shopper. She shopped and bought more gifts and presents for everybody. Didn't matter who it was for. my house is just loaded with things from Francie, beautiful things. She was a giver, of course, artistic. Now, at her lake house, the front of the house did not have a front door. There was only a window, so she went and found the door, painted it, and attached it to the front of the house. It was a fake door. So if anybody went to the front door to knock, nobody would ever answer. But it was a great look. She was very good at that. She was not a good mother. She was a great mother. She loved her boys, just loved her boys, and I think they all knew that. And so proud to have a mom like Francie. 35 years I've known her, and our paths crossed in life. And I guess I have a thing about your life is like a book, and there's chapters in your life, and you name the chapters. And I have a chapter in my life, in my book of life, and it's called Francie. And I could go on and on and on about her. She was a great person. She actually is with the angels right now. I truly believe that she is. They're watching over her, because she's an angel herself. And I am sure she's up there talking and talking and talking to the angels and telling stories, and they're listening. They're listening intently to her. And that's a good thing. So I thank God for allowing her to be a part of my life, and I miss her.
Mom, so Lauren and I got engaged 2 weeks ago, and we were super excited. You were in Greece, and I know you were overlooking us and witnessing the whole thing. But the wedding will probably be in April, and I know you're going to be with us in spirit. But we love you so much, and we're so excited, and I know you would be happy to hear all this. I'm just so grateful that you were able to meet Lauren, and you guys had a great bonding moment that day. But we're super excited. Yeah, and Lauren, we'll always remember the 5 hours that you guys spent together, and
and getting your blessing, getting
with
the eyebrow raise and the smile,
that's right. And the gowns that she gave you as a present, I know it really put a huge smile on your face. I'll never forget, you wearing those while you were
having happy
recovering.
hour.
Yeah. Having happy hour. But yeah, we've had some amazing memories, and we're looking forward to starting a family. And we know you're up there in heaven, getting things going with our kids, and planning what kind of kids we're going to have and all that good stuff.
And I just want to say thank you for raising such a wonderful man, and it's a true testament to the kind of woman and mother that you were. Seeing their family values and how much they care about each other, and just how much your friends and your family all kind of gather around your remaining family. I mean, you truly lived a life so well that you didn't have to do it twice, and I think that is a huge testament to the kind of person that you were, and I only hope that I could be that lucky, So thank you for raising Andy so well, and I look forward to showing these videos to our children, so they can get to know you through the stories of your friends.
Yep, absolutely. We love you so much, Mom, and we're excited to have you oversee us at our wedding in April. And
we know you'll give us good weather. You gave us good weather in Greece.
That's right. All right, love you so much.
Well, I'll never forget the time when Francie came up to me and said that she had to look up my parents' address in the Yellow Pages. This was back when we had the Yellow Pages. And she said, "Sarah, I cannot believe that your dad's middle name is Fatty." I said, Francie, I said, what are you talking about? And she said, I looked him up in the Yellow Pages, and his name is John Fatty Manning. I said, Francie, I said, that is not my dad's middle name. And I said, how did it look? And she said, it said John F.ATTY. I said, Francie, he's an attorney. So, it looked like Fatty in the phone book, but it wasn't. We sure loved Francie, and we have some great stories with her, and we're just blessed to know her.
Yeah, there's just a flood of memories of Francie and Jack and Mike Nale, who I grew up with, and Andy and John. As I walked up to the house today, I get chill bumps of the memories and the time spent over here with the Nale family, and we miss Francie dearly. She there's so many stories, but a few of them that I can recall. We went to a lot of events together, soccer tournaments, weddings, parties, reunions, all kinds of stuff. And everywhere we would go, Jack would show up with a cooler of Miller Lite. And Francie would always have a Miller Lite with him or a martini, but they always brought the party wherever they went. They were the most welcoming people. Didn't matter where you were going. There's another, one of the most special things about Francie that I can recall was her inviting my mom to the Red Hat Club. My mom passed away shortly before Francie, and my mom and Francie, my mom June Locke and Francie had a very special relationship. They were both in the Red Hat Ladies Club together. It meant a lot to my mom for Francie to invite her in, because apparently it's a pretty secret social society and very exclusive, and the stories that my mom would call me after every Red Hat Ladies Club and tell me the stories that her and Francie would have together, and just so many great memories. We love her, we miss her, and we're going to see her again one day up in heaven. Thank you.
So, what do you think this is? No, you're wrong. It's not a roll of toilet paper. This is the official ball for the Toilet Bowl, initiated by Fran or Francie Nale, way back when. Well, it all started when me, my brother Neil, my brother Don, I believe, it goes back a lot of years, we challenged the Nale toddlers at a young age in a game of football. And this game became so popular that it became the official Toilet Bowl. Yeah, the Toilet Bowl. You're right. Well, the truth is, the founder, the commissioner, the coach and referee was Francie Nale. Yes, she was there. So you had these older cousins, Frank, Don, and Neil, playing against the Nale toddlers. We had no chance, us older cousins. They were, well, the truth is, Fran has a heart for the underdog, the younger ones. And we got just smothered and lost. However, many years later, as the Nale brothers became older, became teenagers, Frank and Nancy, it's my wife Nancy right here, for those who don't know her, we had our own children. They were young, they were toddlers, and they played against, yes, the Nale teenagers. Francie, still the commissioner, still the coach, still the referee. Well, I guess you can just imagine who won that game. Yes. It was the young children of Frank and Nancy Lancy. And that's just how it went. Fran, she was the person who would initiate games and turn it into something spectacular. The Toilet Bowl. Some of you probably have heard of the Super Bowl or the NCAA national championship that some team called Alabama keeps winning. But it's the Toilet Bowl that everybody wants to win that trophy. My wife has a word or two to say.
And just like the toilet bowl, the thing about Fran is she could take something that seemed like nothing or little and make it special. She did that with everybody that she met. Remember years ago when our youngest son was about 5 years old and he walked in with a new coat on, and Fran just walked up to him, admired it, and made more about the zipper on that coat than I've ever heard about any zipper. I never even knew the coat had a zipper until Fran started to point it out. And that was what she did. She saw you and she just made you feel good. And sometimes it may have seemed like nothing to you until Fran started to talk to you about it and let you know how much she appreciated it and admired it. And it just made you feel happy. And that's the special thing about Fran.
So, when you look at toilet paper from now on, it's a little bit more than a roll of toilet paper. We love the Nale family.
Hi, I'm Judy, Jack's sister, and I have a funny story to share with all of you. The two of them and my husband and myself were at a restaurant in Baltimore having drinks and meals and great conversation, always fun and funny, especially with Francie and Jack. At the end of the during the meal, I had admired this mug. So the drinks were served, and of course we walked out of the restaurant, and Francie, who was pregnant at the time and had on a long dress, pulled out the mug from underneath her dress. Now, if that's not a story to remember, I don't know what is. And this mug has traveled different states with us, and I wouldn't part with it for anything. I smile and think of Francie whenever I look at it. Love to Jack and family.
I'm Cheryl. I was blessed to have Francie in my life for 36 years. I saw her up until several days before she left to go and live in heaven. Francie and I met at Dickerson Middle School right after we first moved to the area. She asked for my phone number, said she would call. She did. She invited us to a Halloween party at their home. And we all know how the Nales love to party. Well, that was the beginning of our wonderful relationship. Now, what can you say about Francie in a couple minutes? It's impossible. She was one of a kind. She was the sweetest, kindest, most loving, caring, creative, fun, and talkative women you ever wanted to know. She was always there for everyone who needed her. Thank you, Francie. She had a lot of stories, but my favorite story was the time she and Jack met. So briefly, she was with a guy named Ray Riley, who she was engaged to. When she met Jack, she made it very clear that even though their last names were the same, they were spelled differently. Very clever. I understand later that evening, Jack followed her to the ladies' room, hoping to get her phone number. She gave it to him verbally. Jack had to remember the first few digits, and his friend Tank had to remember the last few digits. Well, Jack pursued Francie. He contacted her mom, made arrangements to be at their home one evening when she came home from work. They decided to go and get a beer. Jack said, "Will you marry me?" Francie said, "Let's go get a beer first." The rest is history. Francie's April Fool's birthdays were so appropriate for her. She loved to joke. Had such a great sense of humor. She used to tell how she would wrap the toilet in saran wrap to surprise the guys when they got up in the morning. She sewed the fly on Jack's underwear together right before he left on a business trip. I don't think Jack's ever going to forget that one. Oh my goodness, but they got her back. She told about being in the shower, shampooing her hair, getting ready to go to a birthday luncheon. Mike shut the water off in the house and left. Very funny, Mike. Oh my. Well, Francie, you are truly missed every day by so many. Until we meet again, I love you.
Hi Nails, this is John and Sally McIsaac. We're sorry we're not going to be able to make Francie's celebration of life as we have a wedding to attend. Sally's niece is getting married. But anyway, we tried to rack our poor little brains and we couldn't come up with a specific Francie story other than every time we got together with the Nales, and I include all of y'all because you were such an integral part of her life and y'all's lives, we just had a great many memories. And so we wish you well, and we hope you have a great celebration, and sorry we won't be there, but we love you guys and we wish you well.
We love you guys, and we sure love Francie. Have a good one. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Hey Jack, friends of Francie, sorry we can't be there. Sending this video, hoping for a great day. Our best, really, I guess it's a Jack and Francie story, come with how we met. We have a rickety old raft called a flatboat that our daughters and I put together out of some old floats and stuff, and on Sunday evenings we would float right out there in the lake and watch all the boats go home. And it's kind of a ritual. We take some beer and go out there, and we were out there one night Sunday evening about 6:30 or so, and the sun was starting to wane a little bit, and there was a pontoon boat off in the distance watching us, and we kind of wondered what the hell they were doing. And finally they motored over and said, of course, being the absolute greatest people on earth concerned about us,
Are you okay?
yeah, they motored over and said, "Man, you guys need help." And I said, "Well, we do now. We just ran out of beer." And Jack said, "Well, we got some Miller Lite on board," which happened to be at the time her favorite beer.
So my recollection is we said we ran out of Miller Lite, and Jack opened up the cooler, and it was chock full of nothing but Miller Lights, and
So,
we were best
yeah.
friends forever.
She didn't get it right, but anyway, we
right?
we tied the raft up to their boat, and we sat there for about probably an hour and a half, like we were known each other our whole lives, absolute best friends forever. Told stories, laughed, and said from that day on we would be always in touch, and we always were. Lake life is going and visiting your buddies, so every time we were out we would swing by their dock and pull up, not get off, but just pull up and chat and see how they were doing, and they would do the same to us.
Catch up on the grandkids,
Yeah,
what's going on.
Just absolutely great. And
Miss those times.
And so the actual funniest just Francie's story was we were over at their house one night for dinner, and Francie at that time had some problems, and she was going to various physicians, and she said she was at a doctor in Roswell, and as she was checking out, she noticed there was a big bowl of mints sitting on the counter where she was checking out. She picked some up and looked at them, and they were all different flavors: banana, strawberry, plum, peach. And she told the receptionist, she said, I've never seen flavored mints before. And she said, lady, you're in an infectious disease doctor's office. Those aren't mints, those are condoms. And you can imagine Francie's reaction. She put it back down. And so we asked her, and she said, oh yeah, she said, I didn't get the real spicy flavors, but I did get a couple of bananas and a couple of strawberry ones to take home. And I've told that story a million times. So like I said, I wish we could be there.
Yeah, by the way, I'm Anita, and this is
I'm
Matt
sorry.
Pursley.
Yep.
We miss Francie so much, and
we miss
sad
Jack
that we
too.
can't. Yeah, actually, come by, Jack, please.
Yep.
We miss you.
And I hope you guys have a great day. So, alrighty guys, till next time, look forward to seeing the whole video. Bye.
Hi, Jack, John, Andy, Mike. It's Brenda Foldesai. Thank you for having us for this celebration of Francie's life. She was a powerful influence in our family. We always told Jack she was a legend in our family. Our kids loved her. We loved her bubbly personality. We loved her stories. We loved everything about Fran. And when they lived in Raleigh, we just loved doing things with them. And even after they left Raleigh, we stayed close through the years. And whenever I would get a phone call from Francie and I was driving, I knew that I had to find a parking lot because I knew that we would have a nice long catch-up chat. That was Francie, and so we had lots of stories to catch up on. And my daughter always wanted Fran as her mother-in-law. She just couldn't ever figure out how to get a date with a Nale boy, or which one to go for. Anyway, she never got Francie as a mother-in-law, but she was honored to sing at their 25th wedding anniversary their favorite song, When I Fall in Love, It Will Be Forever. And I always think of Francie and Jack as having the forever love. They always exuded the deepest love, as far as I could tell. One cute story about Francie, when they lived here and she wanted to take the boys to Disney World, she and Jack, and she wanted someone to keep Mikey because he was 11 months old. So we kept Mikey, and she totally assured me that Mike would take a bottle because Jack had been giving him a bottle religiously. And so at 2 o'clock in the morning, Mike would wake up, I would get him up, get his bottle ready, and we would sit in the rocking chair and he'd look at me with those big, adorable eyes, clamp his little mouth tight shut, would not allow that nipple in his mouth. So each night we went through this routine, and we would entertain ourselves with him flipping the nipple with his finger, but never once would he allow that nipple in his mouth. Fortunately, Fran had told me that he loved dip-de-doo, which was her term for egg yolk, dip toast into egg yolk. So all week, Mikey existed on dip-de-doo and bananas, thank goodness. So when she arrived back, it was like a magnet. He couldn't get to her fast enough. And of course, that best ever giggle from Fran was like, she knew. So cute, but she had the best giggle ever. An endearing story for me was when my brother was suffering from throat cancer, and while we were there for 3 weeks helping care for him, when we came back to Raleigh, Francie would deliver or have delivered soup in a cooler to his front porch because she knew he wasn't able to eat or didn't want to see anyone. And I will be eternally grateful to her for that, as will my brother. And
I will always love her, and I will always miss her for the rest of my life. Rest in peace, dear Francie. I loved you. Bye.
Hi, Jack and family. I wanted to share a couple memories of Fran, and one of them goes back to an assignment I had in the 6th grade. I was to debate another fellow classman. It was capitalism versus communism, and as a 6th grader, I didn't have a clue, I'm sure, what communism was, or capitalism for that matter. So Fran helped me out with that assignment, and then as I was running for president of the Calvert Hall Bands in my senior year there, I was down in the basement at our Stevenson Lane home, and Fran was over, and she came up with the creative idea of using like a broken or a cracked mirror, putting that on a poster board, and I forget what the statement was. It was probably, you know, Landsey for president, vote Landsey for president, something to that effect. But I'll never forget that creative idea, and I assume the motive was to catch somebody's eye, or they'd never forget that particular poster. And I won, so I'm sure the poster helped. So there are a couple great memories I have of Fran, and just an overall memory, when she would speak with people, even if you observe her from a distance, that she always just showed genuine interest in the person. And I felt she had genuine interest in me as well. So that was just a very commendable quality that I know every one of us observed of her. We miss Fran, and we love you all. We wish we could be joining you as you all share these memories. God bless you all.
Hi. For those that don't know me, I am Sharon Bateman. Used to be Sharon Landsey. I am one of Francie's nieces and goddaughters. I grew up calling her Fran, not Francie. That was just how, I guess, what her sisters called her and her parents. So that was what I have always referred to her as. I have so many memories, I can't even begin, but I don't actually remember this, but I remember lots of stories about it. I was the flower girl in Fran and Jack's wedding. So I have some great pictures, and I was a little teeny one in a little dress, and I just have beautiful pictures of it and memories of the stories that were told to me about it. And I feel honored that I was chosen, even as a little person. My next memory is when I was in about 1st grade. I was spending the night at their house, which I did from time to time, and Fran gave me a pillow to use because I didn't have a pillow. I told her I'd never slept with a pillow, and she said, "What?" She said, "I'm going to give you a pillow." Well, I kept that pillow from 1st grade until I was about 40-something, and my friend finally convinced me that it was time to throw it out. She said, "It's probably not good to have a pillow for this long." So then my family got me a pillow for Christmas that was similar to it, and I called it my Fran pillow. Oh my gosh, a million other things. Jack and Fran came and met me when I was on college tours with my daughter, and we were in North Carolina or South Carolina, I think, and they drove up and met us and had dinner with us, and it was just lovely, and it's definitely a memory for my daughter and I. And then they also came to my 40th birthday party, totally surprised me. I have a special dish that Mike brought that night. I'm gonna take a little walk and show you some things. The dish is a special bowl that Mike carried in when they surprised me for the party. and it is up with my koozies for beers, and it has crab mallets in it. So here you go. I'm gonna flip. Oops. Wait a minute, I'm trying to turn the camera. Come on. Well, I can't, so I'm gonna try it this way. I don't know if you can see it, but there it is. There's the bowl. And so, of course, finding out that I'm not so savvy with the video thing. But now I'm walking into my dining room where I have a picture. Oh, I have a collage, and there's a picture that I hope I'm going to be able to show from my brother's wedding, which was a year before my wedding. And we are together in it. And I hope that showed. Anyway, wish I knew how to flip this. So again, a million memories, a million phone calls, a million hugs, visits. I came to North Carolina when they lived in Raleigh and visited, and the boys were young, and just so many different things. But I'm gonna stop because I know everybody needs their turn. Okay. I just love my friend, my Aunt Fran.
Our first memory of Francie, first and everlasting memory of Francie and Jack, was at the Progressive Dinner Party 22 or 23 years ago. We had just moved into the neighborhood. We didn't know anybody, but we met Francie and Jack, and they just made us feel so welcome. And we made friends that night, and we'll never forget it. And ever since, Jack and Francie just made us feel at home in the neighborhood, and every time we saw them, we just had a great time.
Francie really was the life of the neighborhood, and she really taught us a lesson on how to welcome people and make them feel special and get to know neighbors in Hampton Lake. So we really appreciate that. We miss her so much. We miss her warm eyes and her sweet smile and her fun spirit. Have a wonderful celebration for Francie.
I still remember the day we went out on my parents' boat for crabs across the other side of the bay. It was a perfect day. Uncle Jack, my parents, you, me. We had a great time. Lots of laughs, lots of drinks. The weather was perfect. The water was perfectly flat, and I just couldn't have enjoyed it more. I still have the picture. Still remember the good times we had, and will always treasure it. I love you, Aunt Fran.
I'm Julianne. I'm Aunt Fran's niece and goddaughter, and I have so many wonderful memories of Aunt Fran over the years, but I think the one that has always stuck out to me the most, that I'll never forget, is in second grade when I made my first Holy Communion, and she was with me that whole weekend, and she came with me to look at my school and see my classroom and meet my teacher, and we just did so many fun things together. She just always made me feel so special, and I'll never forget that about her.
So one of the things that I remember most about Francie is her ability to make people laugh. One night we were out to dinner with Jack, Andy, Scott, and myself. Waiter comes to the table and asks us what we'd like to drink. Scott says, I'll have my Belvedere martini, touch dirty, heavily shaken, not stirred. Francie and I are still debating what wine we want to order because we loved our red wines. Waiter went back, brought the drink to Scott, and Francie goes, "Ooh, that looks really good. Can I have a taste?" So she takes a sip. She goes, "Oh, I really like that." And she says, "I think I'm going to order one." So how do you order that, Scott? And he repeated, "It's a Belvedere martini, touch dirty, heavily shaken, not stirred." So Francie's practicing, wanting to make sure that she gets it right before the waiter comes back. So the waiter comes and says, "Have you girls decided what you want to drink?" And Francie goes, "Yes." She goes, "I'll have a Belvedere martini, touch dirty, heavily shaken, not poured." So the waiter looks at her, "Not poured?" And we all burst out laughing. And ever since that, that's the way Francie ordered her drinks, just to get a laugh from the waiter. Anyways, that was just one of the few stories. I have numerous I could tell about Francie, but just, she has touched our lives in so many ways. And Francie, we all miss you horribly, but your memories live on forever. We love you and miss you. Bye.
Hi, I'm Renee. I am Francie's niece. I don't really have any funny story to tell. I just have lots of wonderful, warm memories of Francie over the years when we would visit down in Marietta. She was always so generous, and one of the things that really stands out is when her son John got married to Kathy. It was June 28th. My birthday happens to be the very next day, June 29th. And everything about that whole weekend was naturally about John and Kathy. But Francie couldn't let that weekend go by without recognizing that it was my birthday as well. So even with everything going on, all the plans, all the family coming into town, Francie made reservations for me and my family for the 29th at a really special little restaurant in the country, I want to call it, because it was just the setting just reminded you of the country. And it was just perfect. I can't believe, with everything going on, that she remembered and took the time to do that. But that's just how Francie was. I will never forget it. And of course, I will never forget her. And I love her and I miss her. And I wish she was still with us today. Thank you.
Here is Carol Lanzi holding a wonderful picture of her sisters and her. I'm going to show the picture. Who's in that picture, Mom? You got all your sisters there, right? Or, well, some of your sisters there. You've got you, of course, right? And then Joyce. Jean was your oldest sister. Your sister Pat is not in that picture, but who's this lady right here? And your little sister Fran? Fran, yes.
Smile. Look at Sharon. Smile. It's Sharon.
And there's Connie Lanzi, Fran's brother-in-law, I guess, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Brother-in-law.
Yep. So there.
I know Fran.
Yeah,
Fran.
and then here's another picture. Maybe, Mom, I'm gonna hold it. There you are with. Wait a minute, are you even in that one? No. It's Fran and Jean and Joyce. See? Can you give me a smile?
How could that be?
How could that be? I don't know why they took the picture without you. How could that be? That is just silly.
I guess I took the picture. I assume I took the picture.
Maybe.
Probably.
Or maybe you were talking to Jack, Mom. Can you wave hi to Jack right now?
I could have been talking to Jack.
Can you say hello to him like this? Give him a wave.
Did you?
Yep, because he's gonna get to see this. There we go. There. That's awesome.
That's nice.
All right. Thank you.
I want to say one thing I remember about dear Fran.
Okay.
She used to visit with us. She would come up from Georgia. And she'd just come up for the weekend. And she'd come in and she'd have triple-sized suitcases. Never seen suitcases that big in my whole life. And she had two of them.
Two?
And she stayed 2 days and she's going back. I never seen it. And we lived in a house that had you gotta have steps. And so I carried these suitcases upstairs. I said, Fran, you're staying here for at least 2 weeks, maybe even a month, because there's no way I'm going to take those suitcases back down unless they're empty. So anyway, we had a lot of fun with Fran. We love her so much.
That's a great memory. And I know we have lots of pictures of you all going away with Fran and Jack and Joyce and Bill. Used to go away to, what, Seven Springs?
Seven Springs, yeah.
Supposedly play tennis in the snow.
Well, we let them play tennis. Well, Jack and I had some pretty serious discussions.
Oh, okay. Wow, you don't remember those discussions, Mom? Or you don't believe that they were serious discussions? Maybe not.
Nice.
Oh, all right, we'll say I love you.
Yes, say it louder.
I heard it. I think we got it on tape.
We love you, Fran. We love you, Jack. We love your whole family.
That's good. Yes.
Hey Jack, this is Jim Clautisse, nephew of Fran and yours. So just calling to relay a story or two about Fran. So I do remember back when I was probably 4 or 5 years old, and my parents were known for traveling quite a bit and dropping us kids off along the way. And it looks like I was left with you all. And I remember I was pretty young, so again, 4 or 5, and I think I was not too happy. So I remember crying and almost trying to run away. But I remember Fran, of course, coming to rescue me and bring me back in the house and sitting me down and making me feel very welcome after that. And so that's just a memory I have when I was quite young, Fran. Another time I remember much older, probably early 20s, that I was in your house in Atlanta. I think I came up from Pensacola when I was down there in flight school, and you were on the blender from what I remember, Jack. And I think my parents were in town. I think my roommate from college was there, and a couple of the boys were there. And I must have indulged a bit more than I remember exactly, and I apparently slept on the couch there, and apparently I ruined one of your rugs right there. And of course Fran told me that she always wanted to get rid of that rug, and she was very happy and thankful that I managed to get sick upon it, and therefore you all replaced it. And she always reminded me of that, fondly, of course. I remember coming to your house for Thanksgiving. We drove down when Gabby, our oldest, was just about 6 months old, and having a great time with Fran and you and John and Andy and Mike, and everybody was there, and you guys really made us feel very welcome. So many fond memories of Fran, and we always think of her often, and she is missed, as I know you miss her quite a bit. So please know that we're thinking of you and the family, and we hope to see you all soon. Take care.
Hi, this is Kathy Martin, friend of Francie's for 38 years. She was in her 30s and I was in my 30s, and we moved here, and now, we were in our 70s. So I got to know her really well. She was like a sister to me. And she was the most generous person, and just always willing to help or do anything she could for you. But one of the funniest stories is when we went to we went to Nikolai's roof for some sort of celebration, Doug and I and Francie and Jack. And so we started drinking the flavored vodka, and it just went down so easy that, before we knew it, I think we both had too much and were giggling and acting silly and everything. And so when the swan came to wrap up her dessert, she made something obscene out of it. And then we went downstairs to wait on the guys to go get the car. And while we were waiting, there was this big, tall flower box in the lobby of the hotel. And so Francie, we were trying to decide whether flowers were real or if they were fake. And so before I knew it, Francie was up in the flower box, filling of the flowers. And I was just giggling and she was giggling and acting silly. And then the car came and we got in the car and came home, and I realized that I didn't have any shoes. And I, thought the next morning, well, they must be in the car, but they weren't in the car. And so I apparently was walking around the hotel with no shoes on. But that was just one of the funny things that happened with Francie. But when Doug got sick, she came, probably once a week with this wonderful chicken soup that, she must have spent hours on. And then she really was just so wonderful through the years with all the things that the two of us, went through with our lives. And I just miss her so much. And of course, miss Doug. And it's just hard to believe that they're both gone, but I loved her very much. And I don't think there'll ever be another Francie.
Hi, I'm Pat Saunders, and I've been a nurse for 49 years. And the only reason that's important is because without Fran, I would never have become a nurse at all. See, we met, 50 years ago in 1960 as freshmen at Notre Dame Prep in Maryland. We were going to be the graduating class of 1964, only I never made it that far. In my sophomore year, I was pregnant, and the nuns really had no sense of humor, and they booted me right out of school. As you can imagine, in 1962, there was a lot of emotion around teenage pregnancy, and mothers were very, very fearful that their daughters could catch it. Again, enter Fran, and she wasn't having any of that. She and her mom had this amazing shower for me and set me up for success. There was nothing like it. That didn't end there. I had always wanted to be a nurse, but I figured that that was over. Again, enter Fran. Fran became my babysitter, and by then I had two children, and I would take them there in the mornings when I went to class, and Fran would watch them. Fran was my cheerleader. She was my best friend. I think about her every day, especially while I think about my nursing career, and I thank her all of the time. Without Fran and her giving nature, which is what Fran is all about, or was all about, and still is about, there would be no success for me. I owe it all to Fran. Rest in peace, my friend.
Francie was a wonderful friend. She had many friends. Here's an example of why she was so loved. She kept asking me what I was going to do for my 50th wedding anniversary. And I said, well, we're taking the whole family on a cruise. And she said, well, that's not enough. You need to have some of your friends involved. I said, no, not this time, Francie. We're just going to keep it simple and just go on the cruise. So one day I hear a knock at my door, and there stood Francie with a long stem red rose and a big scroll in her hand. And it was explaining to me why I was invited to her house to celebrate our 50th wedding anniversary. I said, oh no, Francie, that's just too much. We can't do that. She said, well, I am going to insist that we do it. And so I agreed, and she recruited some of my friends to be co-hostesses with her. And she put on one of the most beautiful parties anybody could have ever had. It was in her beautiful home, and she had all my clippings. She got Joan involved to find the wedding clippings from years ago and all the things that went on at our wedding. And all of our family was invited, and many, many friends. And so many people said that was one of the nicest parties I ever attended. And I shall always be grateful for Francie for pushing me to celebrate more with friends too.
Fran Nale is the wife of my friend Jack that I've known for years. Before I met Fran, she must have heard strange stories about me of being a hiker and a doer in the woods, in which her husband frequently joined me. I was a great disappointment to her the first time we met. We went out on a hike to a local mountain, on which occasion I was going to fix some steaks, and I had a bottle of white wine and a big fat steak. And when it came time to cook it, I pulled out of the trunk of my car my little hibachi and some foil and matches, and Fran was shocked. She was absolutely sure that I was going to rub sticks together and cook that steak without any modern accoutrements. I think she never quite excused me for that or forgave me, but she became the one person that my wife said I would listen to on the telephone.
I heard many wonderful and funny things about her, always loving from Mets. But the first moment I knew Fran's heart was one time I saw something hanging on the wall at Metz's shore house. It didn't look like something Metz would put up on his own. So I asked him about it. It was a piece of rough wood with a ladybug on it. And I said, where did you get that? And he said, a good friend of mine gave that to me, Fran, because she wanted a lady to bug me. And I think that was the moment that she blessed us. And she always blessed us. She to her, our love for each other and our marriage was something that she cherished, and she made us cherish it even more. She treated me like a sister and a best friend, and she had dear sisters and many, many best friends, but she made you feel like you were the most important person in the world. And at that moment you were. She is and always will be my model for loving family and dear friends. And I miss her terribly. I miss eating great big crabs with her. I miss her joy in every little thing that came her way. And I thank Jack for giving us this chance to talk about her.
Hi, my name is Marie Robertson. I am a friend of Francie's. Many years ago we connected, and when we connected we realized that we had so many things in common. We both were from Baltimore. We both loved crabs, soft crabs. We had a lot of the same friends. We had the same gynecologists. We liked the same restaurants. We loved Nale Diamond. We were just so amazing together. Every time we were with each other, we just carried on and laughed and just talked about all the wonderful things of friendship and how much fun we had together. One time I had her and Jack to my house for dinner, and I had crab cakes, and the napkin rings were made out of crabs. And anyway, she put the napkin ring on her finger like a ring, which was so funny. And then she actually, I actually gave her one of the napkin rings so she could wear it as a ring, which of course you know she did. She loved doing crazy things.
Hi Jack, family. What I remember most about Francie is that when you were with her, she had her whole attention on you. Even though she had tons and tons of friends and she was very busy in her life, when you were with her, she completely focused on you and gave you so much attention, and I loved being with her. I remember one morning in the spring, she wanted to take me to the Southern Skillet for breakfast, and it was one of the first nice warm days of spring, and she said she would drive, and she picked me up in her convertible. The top was down and off we roared to Roswell. I think we stayed there the whole morning and into the afternoon. I think we closed the place down. We just chatted all day long, and that's the one thing I fondly remember about Francie, is that she was completely focused on you and was a great conversationalist and was a great listener. Miss you, France.
Hi, I'm Kathy. I am Francie's daughter-in-law, and lots of funny memories of Francie over the years. When John and my girls were born, she made it a special thing to spend as much time with them as she could. So she was constantly taking them out to tea parties and trick-or-treating and all kinds of stuff. So one time John and I were out of town, and we would always ask Francie to come stay with the girls whenever we would travel. So she got them on the bus. She was in her nightgown, and when she I don't know why she went to the bus stop in her nightgown, but when she went back to go inside the house, she had locked herself out and couldn't get in touch with us. We didn't have a key hidden anywhere outside for her to get back in. So she literally was walking around the neighborhood, going door to door, knocking, asking people if they had a way to get into our house, which they did not. So when I finally got a message from her that she was locked out of the house, I had to call one of my neighbors and have their little girl go over and crawl through the doggy door to unlock the house to let Francie in. So we laughed about that all the time, about how she was wandering around the neighborhood in her long nightgown. But she was just an amazing person, always thinking of others, always doing special things for people. If they were sick or having a baby or getting married, Francie was the first one to want to throw a party or make food, and she was the same way with my girls. So I feel super blessed that they have those memories to take with them forever and ever, but we definitely miss her.
Hi, I'm Morgan Nale. And I'm Sarah Nale. And Francie was our grandmother, and we called her Grancy. And she would always take us on the most extravagant adventures. And then to repay her, we would always invite her to lunch or dinner. And one of my favorite memories was inviting her to dinner, I think, and I think we ended up going to O'Charlie's or something. And I just remember always asking her so many questions about her growing up, and questions about her and Grandpa and how they met and their love story, and I'll just always hold those stories that she told me so close to my heart.
She always took us right before school started. Every year she'd take us to a tea room in Roswell. It was called Tea Leaves in Time, I think. And there was this little part of the tea room that after we would eat, we would dress each other up. They had these ball gowns and hats that we would put on, and she would sit in the corner for hours with her old little camera, because she refused to learn how to work her iPhone camera, and she would just take pictures of us and print them out, and we did that every year before we went back to school, and it was just a special memory for us that we'll always hold close to our hearts, and all the things that she took us to do, we'll always remember her by.
So Jack is putting together this wonderful
book of stories of Francie, who, though she's not right here, she's someone you don't forget. You still see her twinkling eyes, her tilt of her head, and I always called her my kindred spirit, but I told her she was an angel with a tilted halo, and the heart was so perfect for her. So I first met Francie shortly after she moved to Marietta with Jack and the 4 boys, and I had just had my second little child, and she hadn't seen my baby yet, and I was walking into Kroger at Park Air, and she was coming out with Mikey, and we stood in the parking lot and talked for at least an hour. That's just typical Francie. And she held the baby. And then fast forward a generation, and that daughter, Danielle, had her first child the end of February and named the baby Jack. And so I shared that right away with Francie, and I knew she wanted to see the baby, so I asked Danielle if I could take Jack out for a drive, and I went to Francie's porch. We never made it in the house. It was a sunny day. We went to the side porch and we sat on the wicker, and she held Jack, and we laughed together and we cried together. Tears were coming out of her face with joy. Then she asked if she could change his diaper, though he didn't need changing, and we just laid him on the table and enjoyed him. She loved children so much. So when I think of Francie, the word unforgettable comes to mind. And there's a line by Walt Disney, and it's, people won't remember what you did, but how you made them feel. And Francie and Jack share that gift. They were the last to leave a party. They always make you feel like you're what's important. They're not distracted by other people. Goodness knows they have enough friends to be distracted by. But I gave Francie some CDs that I would make for her and Jack to listen to, and the first one had Nat King Cole's song Unforgettable on it, and she started crying. The tears were coming out, and she said that was her song she danced with Jack to at their wedding. So I hope I look forward to listening to all the Francie stories. Thank you for asking me. I'm so honored to have been her friend, and we'll see her again.
Hi, Jack and family and friends. This is Helen. I am Francie's sister-in-law, more affectionately known as my other sister. We love and miss her so much, and there's so many stories I could tell about her. So many things that are endearing that I could be here for literally a month. But one of the most special things I want to bring up is our dear mom lived with us for 10 years. And one day I got a call from her telling me that she wanted to switch places with us for a week and come up and be with our mom so that Mark and I and our family could go down to their lake home. It was the most beautiful and wonderful gift because we hadn't had a vacation in a very long time. And I remember getting into the airport in Atlanta, Jack picking us up, and we went to their house. And in the Francie way, she had like 50 appetizers that would have fed a family of 8 for a week. And we sat there in their home in Hampton Lake and enjoyed them. And then we went up to the lake, spent the night with them, and enjoyed being with them that evening and that next morning. And then they left to take care of and be with our mom for a week and left us all kinds of dinners, a romantic dinner for that night, all kinds of food and things to supply our family. I have never forgotten that and how much it meant to us and how much it was very needed and appreciated and so many other things. But that just stands out to me right now because it was the most wonderful thing for all of us. Thank you, Francie. I love you.
Well, nobody was a better storyteller than the storyteller herself. And there were many a late night telling stories with little vodka and a lot of stories. Maybe it was the other way around. But one of my fondest memories is that Fran and I used to tease each other about having just painted in the house. When we went down to Atlanta, she would tease me about her just painting something, and when Jack and Fran came to our house, I would tease Fran about just painting something. And I told her one day when she came, I said, "Fran, please don't touch the walls because the paint isn't dry yet." And she believed me for a while until I told her I was teasing her. But Fran, just to let you know, I'm retiring this in your honor. We miss you.
We love you. And we know that you're present with us, looking down on us, watching over us. We miss you dearly, and you will always be here and present with us in so many ways.
I don't have a specific memory of Aunt Fran, but every time I think about her, I always think that she always made me happy, and she was so loving, and always was genuinely happy to hear about what I wanted to tell her.
Hey Jack, John, Andy, and Mike. Just want to take a minute and share my thoughts and remembrances of Fran as you celebrate her today. She had such a kind-hearted soul. I absolutely loved the time we spent together on your visits to Maryland, listen to her stories over crabs. We could literally sit there all day and listen to those stories. I know that she's looking down on you all today and that her spirit will continue to live in all of us. Sending our love.
I remember when Aunt Fran came to see our house when we kind of just bought it, and she came and she said she could see the visions of it going to be beautiful, and I thought that wasn't going to be true, but it came true.
I have so many wonderful memories of my dear Aunt Fran. And when I was thinking about what to say for this video, one very specific one came to mind. I don't even remember exactly how old I was, but I know that we went to Atlanta for Aunt Fran and Uncle Jack's 25th wedding anniversary. And we got down there, I think a couple days beforehand, and we stopped by their house and we were there saying hi. We had just rolled into town. And Aunt Fran was the only person that I hadn't seen yet. So I remember going around looking for her. She was always that person that you sought out for her energy and her enthusiasm, and she just always made you feel so good and happy to be with you. So I went upstairs and knocked on their door, and she answered the door, and you know, it was her usual Aunt Fran self, where she was so excited. "Oh, I didn't realize you were here," gave me a big hug, and made me just feel so important. And she took that a step higher because she brought me into her room and showed me the dress that she was going to be wearing for their 25th wedding anniversary party. And I was the only person, she said, who was able to see the dress ahead of time. And it made me feel so special and so important. And that one little moment in my life, I will never forget sharing with her. But that's generally how Aunt Fran was. No matter what, she always made who she was with feel like the most important person in the world. And I carry that with me today. And when I'm with other people and my children and neighbors and friends, family, it's making them feel special, just like Aunt Fran always did for all of us.
Hi guys. Oh wow. Fun stories about Francie, and there were so many, but I have to say I do have a favorite, and I think it's unbeatable. And Jack, you maybe remember this one, I don't know, but years ago, you and Francie and Bob and I were at the Whole World Theater one night, and between skits, one of the actors reached out to the audience and said, okay, we need your participation in this next thing we want to do. We're trying to come up with some ideas. So if you would just give us some random, the most random, crazy name of a fish you can think of. Well, that's kind of a tough one, actually. And so people were throwing out these names. And all of a sudden, and I was looking, of course, at the MC, and we were right in the front row. And all of a sudden, he said, okay, wait a minute, calm down. He said, I got a lady here in the front who just raised her hand. And I looked over, I looked next to me. It was Francie. I thought, oh my word, what is she going to say? And so he called on her. And she said, that would be a slippery dick. Well, I'm telling you, she brought down the whole house. They couldn't believe it. People were cheering and clapping and laughing. And okay, so the MC calmed everybody down. And he said, a slippery dick? And she said, yes, it's true. There is a fish by that name in Florida. Well, I did look it up, and she was right. There is a fish in Florida called a slippery dick, of all things. You know, that is just so Francie to come out with something like that, just so totally unexpectedly. And how she knew about that fish is beyond me, because I was laughing so hard that, yeah, I don't think you can beat that one. Dear, dear friend, I miss her so. Love y'all.
Hello everyone, this is Jack. I just wanted to read to you, follow up. First of all, I should thank you again and again and again for all your wonderful time spent here at the house 2 Sundays ago, and for those who couldn't make it, for sending these wonderful videos in. There were a couple of people that actually sent letters, and I'm going to read those to you this morning. And William is here photographing this, and hopefully we'll have all this ready by Thanksgiving to mail out to all of you, so you'll get it around Thanksgiving at the completed set. So I'm gonna go ahead and read 3 different things that came in. This is from John Kemner, who's a good neighbor who lost his wife a few years ago also. So here it is. The Hampton Lake Women's Club organized an annual progressive dinner for the subdivision. Jack and Francie agreed to host one of the 3 or 4 entree sites. The entree was Father Tom's bourbon pork tenderloin, which required baking in the oven. Francie, being the perfect hostess as always, prepared the tenderloin and placed it in the oven to bake. She and Jack then left the house to join the rest of the group at another location for drinks and appetizers. After the initial drinks and appetizers, the group split up, went to their designated location for the main course. When we arrived at the Nale house for the main course, the expected aroma from the cooking of Father Tom's bourbon was not present. Much to Francie's embarrassment, the oven was off and the meat was not cooked. No, Francie did not forget to put the meat in the oven. After she and Jack left the house, one of their very diligent sons, that was Andy, walked through the kitchen and noticed that the oven was on and no one was home. Naturally, he did what any good son would do, and he shut the oven off. In the end, it all turned out well. Jack opened up the bar, and we had a few drinks, a few too many, while the meat was baking. We all had a great time and a story to tell when we finally arrived at our dessert course. And that's from John Kemner. So, I hope you enjoyed his little I'm going to read another one from George and Linda Burke's family. We were great friends when we lived in Columbus, Ohio, and they came to visit us when we lived in Raleigh. And Linda wrote this letter. Dear Nale family, in loving memory of my forever friend Francie, we Burkes are with you in spirit today and always. My most precious thought of Francie centers around the care of our son Bernie, who was 18 months old when our daughter Gigi was diagnosed with leukemia at age 3. Francie became Bernie Ball's surrogate mother, loving mother, and Tim, John, and Andy, his wonderful brothers, during this difficult time. Francie was always able to take care of Bernie Ball. He always had a ball, so they called him Bernie Ball. And whenever we needed her, through hospitalizations, appointments, treatments, infusions, etc. She will always be remembered for her kind, loving, generous, and compassionate heart. Now here's her humorous memory of our times in Raleigh. Our families always had good times and fun together. One hilarious incident occurred while camping at Carr Lake, right outside of Raleigh. Jack and Fran slept in the station wagon while all five of the kids and George and I slept in their pop-up camper. In the morning, all the kids jumped out of the camper at one time, and George and I rolled to one side of the pop-up camper, and it was like a teeter-totter, and it popped up in the air, and George nearly rolled out. When all the weight was now at one end of the camper. So that's the story. So anyhow, Francie, to wrap up, Francie and I have always called each other on our birthdays to share happy birthday, and Jack was usually joining us. Oh my, how many years? 40 was it? We hold you in our hearts while God holds you in the palm of his hand. God's blessings, peace, joy, and love, the Burkes, George, Linda, Gigi, and Bernie. I'm going to read one more short note from one of Francie's close friends, Monica, who couldn't make it. She sent a note thinking of you and your sons as we remember sweet Francie on this bittersweet day. May you continue to find peace, knowing she is no longer suffering. Let her light and spirit shine in. Sincerely, Monica Jamaz. Thanks again, everybody. I hope that pretty much wraps up the videos, and as soon as our wonderful videographer can get it together, and by Thanksgiving was the last word, we'll get them all to you. Sincerely, thank you, and goodbye.